Questions from the media. Steve Jewin, go ahead.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Ilima Lei. It's always great when I get a chance to talk to the champ, and hopefully Dan will give us a little leeway since we don't get the one-on-ones like we used to. But first of all, I've been humbled a few times on this call already. Nate Andrews, Linton Vassell, and the loquacious and venerable Gareth A. Davies. So if you could do me the honor and humble me one more time as I concede to him that he is the better man, what is the difference between a Bravo choke and a Darce choke?
A Bravo choke?
Yes. Nate Andrews told me he didn't get a Bravo choke when I asked him that.
Oh, I don't even know, dude. I'm 10th Planet. We have like completely different terms. I don't even know what a Bravo choke is. I won't be humbling you.
Oh, well, I guess I get off easy today then. But speaking of not getting off easy, this pandemic has been hard on everyone, and I know it's especially hard on you because right now is the time of year where we'd be talking about you going home, seeing your family, having a luau, enjoying yourself, defending the title at Neelis Blaisdell Arena. So how hard is it for you to have a title fight in these circumstances?
It's actually, I'm just grateful because the fact that we're even fighting is, it's just, there's a lot of people who haven't been able to fight, who aren't getting paychecks. There's a lot of businesses that have been forced to close down because of this year. So I'm honestly just grateful that despite it being very weird circumstances during fight week, with the whole quarantining and everything and extra precautions, I'm just, again, very grateful to even have this opportunity. So no, you won't hear any gripes from me about not being in Hawaii this time of year because it's fine. As long as I'm getting a fight, I'm totally cool with it.
All right, just two more from me. First then, since training has obviously been different under these circumstances, I know you're grateful to still be competing, defending the world title, but do you feel like you're fully prepared for an undefeated fighter, as an undefeated fighter yourself?
Yeah, I think I had a really great camp. My same training partners were still there, and I had normal as it could be under the circumstances. I had a very normal training camp. Our gym, fortunately, we were considered an outdoor gym because we have warehouse doors. So as long as we kept those up, then it was fine. The only real, the only real adjustments we had to make was towards the end of the camp, coming down to the last 2 weeks or so was when we really had to, I started wearing my mask to practice and just really limiting my partners just because, the chance of contracting something leading up to this fight. So that was the only real adjustments that we had to make. But otherwise, I thought I had a great camp.
All right, and last from me, as I concede to Gareth A. Davies that he is the better man since he will probably be following me next on the line, what do you make of Julia Velasquez as an opponent compared to the other title fights where you've successfully defended the belt?
I think Juliana is a lot more of an intimidating physical fighter than any of my former opponents. She's bigger than me. She has a bit longer reach, really aggressive and physical. So I think that's one of the main differences between her and my other opponents. I feel like this fight's going to be really tiring. I'm going to be exerting a lot of physical effort and trying to take her down, trying to strike with her. So, I feel like my other fights were very strategic, but with her, it's going to be a very physical fight.
Ryan?
Thank you. So my main question is, Scott Coker has kind of teased the concept of maybe having a women's flyweight Grand Prix, but he wanted to see how this fight unplayed with you and Juliana. Do you think that a victory for you increases or decreases the chances of that happening?
Honestly, whatever happens tomorrow, I hope it doesn't change anything as far as like wanting to do the fight. I think if she wins or if I win, there still should be a Grand Prix for the women's flyweight division. I think that people would prefer to watch us fight over any other, I don't want to call them out. Okay, over the bantamweight guys. I mean, I would like to see the women fighting a women's Grand Prix. We haven't had our chance. The featherweight women haven't had their chance. We haven't had our chance. So I think it's just time. And I think that had the pandemic not have happened, then we would be in a tournament right now. So yeah, I hope that regardless of what happens on Thursday, it's still going to happen.
And Ilima Lei, you continue to set records in the sport. You're solidifying your legacy. Hopefully we do get to see that flyweight Grand Prix go on. And with all of that, what does this fight and what do all of these fights really mean to solidifying your career in Bellator?
Man, I mean, honestly, I feel like I've already made history quite a bit. And regardless of the outcome on Thursday, I'll still be in the history books. So at this point, to be totally honest, I'm just having fun with my fights. I'm finally being able to enjoy. I feel like a lot of pressure has been lifted off of me because I have accomplished a lot in this division and in my career. And, in the sport itself, I've accomplished a lot. So at this point in my career, I am really starting to enjoy the process, enjoy the camps, enjoy the evolution of my skills as a mixed martial artist. And so, and I'm like, I want to take fun fights. I want to fight overseas. I want to fight in the ring and Saitama Arena. I want to do a cross promotional fight with Ryzen. So it's like, again, I just, now I feel a lot more relaxed. Not taking my opponents lightly, but just I don't have as much pressure as people think I have being champion, because I feel like I've done a good job of being champion, and I've reached a lot of the heights of that one could reach in their career. And so now it's I'm just enjoying the process a little bit more and not putting so much pressure on me.
Gareth?
Good evening, Ilima from London.
Hi, Gareth.
Hi there, how you doing? I won't give the other guy I'm not going to even say his name. Yeah, the guy that was, because he's, I'm not letting him get that because I'm living rent free in his head right now. But just wanted to ask you, and we're only kidding around. I just wanted to ask you. You used a lot of enjoying rhetoric just then. You're enjoying it so much, and we've enjoyed you an enormous amount as champion, and the things you've done and the power you've used it for. Can you say to me though that this is probably the biggest challenge you've had while being champion in terms of what Julia Velasquez brings stylistically to the fight against you?
Yes, what she brings. Yes, I consider it the biggest challenge so far. I mean, I would say that Valerie Letourneau at that stage of my career was my biggest challenge, because of her pedigree, her experience in the sport, how long she's been in the sport. But I would say that stylistically, Juliana is my biggest challenge to date. Not only is she a southpaw, which, you don't really fight a lot of southpaws, but she's bigger. She's very physically strong. She goes for the finish. She has an extremely similar record to mine. And I think her mentality too, she's ready to be champion. She works hard, and she wants this a lot. So yeah, I think and stylistically too, even though she really likes to stand and bang, she's a black belt in judoka, which I've never faced before. So that should be interesting too. Definitely my biggest challenge so far.
Brilliant, thank you. And just a final one from me, because Dan wants to move us all on very quickly tonight. Does it make a difference? Would it have made it? I mean, I've had the privilege myself going to the 2 events that you had in Hawaii. It was amazing. Do you think it makes a difference not being in Hawaii for you this time? Because once a year, you've been able to carry an event in your homeland.
For me personally, I don't think it makes a difference, because I think it's kind of a nice change up. And there's a lot less going on, a lot less I need to focus on now. I can just kind of focus just on the fight, just on making weight and the fight. However, I do think that the disadvantage of it not being in Hawaii is for my opponent, because my opponents to be fighting in my hometown in front of that crowd, I think is very, very intimidating and is a kind of a huge mind F-bomb for them. And, you can see it when you rewatch those fights. When they introduce my opponent and the whole crowd is just dead silent, you can hear a pin drop in there. There'll be occasional boos and everything, but it's just dead. And then, my walkout comes. I think that can be really mentally intimidating to my opponent. So I think that's going to be the biggest difference. It doesn't really have any effect on me, but for my opponent, it does.
Donna?
Hey, Ilima Lei, how's it going?
Hi, it's going good.
I wanted to talk to you a bit about your good friend Heather Hardy. You're very close with her, right?
Yeah,
She's
that's my girl.
She's been very outspoken this last week about in boxing, the last couple of weeks, about women's issues in the sport in terms of pay, in terms of positions on cards. Have you been keeping up with what she's been saying, and have you been talking to her about things like that?
Yes, we, in fact, when the lockdown first happened, we were, talking almost daily, and we even did a live on Instagram about women's pay in sports. It was more geared towards the relationship side of things, like if the woman is the breadwinner, how does that work out in the relationship? But we definitely talked about women's pay in sports, and I'm 100% behind Heather, and asked her to share her experiences with being paid in the boxing industry as a woman. And so, I have been following her. I mean, this last week, not so much, just, because I have a fight and everything. But we're homies, and I completely support, everything that she's fighting for.
Obviously, you're not there, so you would only be hearing it secondhand from people like Heather. But why do you think it is that women's MMA seems to have just raced ahead of the pack when it comes to pay, when it comes to equality in the way the cards are structured? I mean, it's completely not abnormal. It's not something that's even a talking point that you would be headlining this card, or that Chris Cyborg or Amanda Nunes in the other promotion. Why is it that the WMMA has raced ahead of women's boxing so much?
I think it's because of promoters like Scott Coker. I mean, Scott has always been supportive of women's MMA. He was the one, I would say that he was the one that practically founded it and gave a stage and gave a platform and the spotlight to women in MMA. So I think it's individuals like him that have allowed women's MMA to excel, and he's the one that's putting us as the headliners. He's never doubted us from the beginning. Other promotions have. They have literally went out and said that we will never see women in the cage fighting ever. But Uncle Scott has never been like that. He's always been supportive of us. So I think it's because of guys like him that we don't have to fight as much, for stuff like equal pay, or for exposure, or opportunities to fight on the main card, opportunities to headline, and to sell out events. And it's because of promotions like Bellator and our promoters like Scott Coker.
Mark?
Ilima, thanks for taking these questions. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your charity work. I know it's something that I don't think people have discussed the past couple times during these press conferences. But tell me a little bit about that. I mean, obviously the pandemic may have hindered a little bit of your charity work, but just kind of give us kind of an update on what's going on with some of your charitable endeavors.
Yeah, so back in February, I put on a retreat for Native women and girls. As an intergenerational and intertribal retreat for, it was I took them back to my homeland, back to Oahu. And, these were women and girls from nations all over the world, including, the Lakota and Dakota nations in the Midwest. I had members of the Kumeyaay Nation in Southern California, and again from all over the world. And I took them back home to Hawaii to put them through a women's retreat that would encompass self-love, self-discipline, self-defense, and protection of the sacred, which included our land and our bodies as women. So anyway, that was part of my scholarship program that I do outside of the cage. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do anything because what my scholarship provides is travel opportunities for these girls. And again, we were not able to do that for the rest of 2020. But I have talked about my next goal or my next endeavors. I do want to rent a trailer or a big RV or something, and I want to do a cross-country road trip and visit reservations and put on free self-defense seminars for the children and for the women out there. And I have been able to do several self-defense seminars during the pandemic on several reservations, and I have another one lined up after this fight. And I don't charge anything for these seminars because as long as it's involving Native women and girls, because statistically that demographic faces the highest rates of violence. I don't charge anything because that's not how I make my money, and this is how I give back. So keep an eye out. Hopefully I can do it in 2021, my cross-country road trip to visiting reservations across the nation.
Thanks a lot, and thank you for your continuing endeavors.
Thank you.
All right, last one, Jay.
Hey, thanks very much. And Ilima, a couple from me, if you don't mind. We spoke to Juliana last week, spoke to her again today during the media day, and she mentioned that she had been expecting to fight you last year. You wound up fighting Jackson. She wound up fighting Bruna Ellen. Was there talk of a fight between the two of you back in Hawaii last year?
There wasn't anything official, but when post-fight, when they're like, oh, like, who do you see yourself fighting next? I did throw her name out there. I always throw out a couple of names, just girls that were on my radar, but there was nothing official. But I do think I said her name after like the Valerie fight. I was like, oh yeah, I've been keeping an eye on Velasquez and so. I threw a couple names out there, but again, nothing official.
And you kind of mentioned it in that she does look like your toughest test to date, a strong physical fighter. You opened as the favorite in this. It's still close, but some sites have you as the underdog right now, and it is the closest fight on the card. Is that motivational for you at all, or are you more of a never tell me the odds, Indiana Jones kind of person?
I don't even understand how odds work, honestly. I don't think I've ever bet on anything in my life before, so I'm kind of like, I don't get it, but I also don't care about numbers going into a fight. I never have. If I did care, I feel like that's just my ego speaking, and you want to try to stay away from ego as much as possible before a fight.
All right, thank you, Ilima. Good luck on Thursday.
Thanks, guys.